O were I Homer, that ancient roamer, I'd write a poem on a noble theme, to sing the story and praise the glory of that wondrous project, the Shannon scheme. In Ballyvalley, midst Oak and Sally, I sat me down and I dreamed a dream of more employment and more enjoyment and happier homes through the Shannon scheme.
If I had to describe Ardnacrusha and the Shannon scheme in one word, I suppose it would be green.
I said it was spectacular.
I suppose powerful.
It's just brilliant.
I'd say it was great.
To describe Ardnacrusha in one word, I'd say historic.
The Shannon scheme, a massive hydroelectric project at Ardnacrusha in Clare, remains the most ambitious engineering project undertaken in the history of the Irish state. At the time of its development, it was the largest hydroelectric station in the world. The scheme was founded by Dr. Tommy McLaughlin. He spent time in Germany where he worked with Siemens on developing a hydroelectric scheme on the Shannon. He presented the idea to the Irish government, and in 1925 the Shannon Electricity Bill was passed. Work began immediately under the supervision of Tommy McLaughlin and the German firm Siemens. It took 4 years to complete at the cost of £5.2 million. Although it now supplies 1.4% of the annual demand, it is still vitally important to the country as a rapidly available source of peak power. The development of the Shannon scheme had a huge impact on the local area. A 12.6-kilometre canal was built between Partine and Ardnacrusha to make use of the 100-foot drop in the river. The scheme was a huge boost to the locality.
My name is Helen Hartigan, and I was just round about 9 years old when the Shannon scheme started. O'Brien's Bridge was one of the main points of the work going on to change the structure of the River Shannon. And it was a very quiet village, with nothing much going on, except that people just lived beside each other and in each other's houses and that kind of thing.
Workers came from all over Ireland and Europe to work on the construction of the Shannon scheme. Some lived in the local area and others lived on site.
The ones that I remember most about, I heard most about and saw most of, were the men from Connemara. They were all fluent Irish speakers. They were very big, strong, burly men, great workers. They spoke Irish amongst themselves all day, and they worked very hard. They worked mostly in the labouring end of it. Now the whole place, at this stage now, the whole place was full of machinery, all kinds of machinery. And they were the labouring men doing the work for the machines. Siemens Schuckert, which built the weir in Ardnacrusha, they were paying very good money, and that's what brought all those people into O'Brien's Bridge. But I'd say the whole surrounding area supplied accommodation for most of those men.
There were special houses for the workers, like, you know. It looked to me now to be an ideal situation to have a job there now, and to have the accommodation they have at the time, like.
My name is Julia Hearn, and I was 7 when the Shannon scheme started. This fella, his father was a carpenter at the weir, and they lived in the village. And he was at the opening, and he said he always remembered W.T. Cosgrove coming in his Rolls Royce to open it.
While the Shannon scheme brought prosperity with it, certain people were adversely affected by the construction of the scheme.
My uncle Michael McNamara and his sister Lena McNamara lived in they were the remaining occupants of the old farmhouse, and they lived there for years. And when they got notice from the Shannon, the operators of the Shannon scheme that they had to leave their house. They nearly died. And they refused pine plank. They weren't leaving their house, they didn't care, and they kept saying that they wouldn't get out of the house. And they eventually, when it came to the point of finalising the canal, they were threatened with eviction. And that was really when they had to make a move. So they moved from where they were just a short distance down onto one of their fields down from the canal. But it really broke their hearts to have to leave their old homestead. They gave them some bit of compensation, not very much I imagine, but I don't know the amount really. But no, they didn't build the house for them. They built a temporary dwelling down across, say a few hundred yards from where they had been living, which is now the centre of the canal.
My husband was a carpenter and he worked there, and he met with an accident. He was there, he was working at the construction, the weir, and he fell down, he fell, and he injured his head, and he was in hospital for months.
My name is Pat Ahern, and I worked in Ardnacrusha from 1965 until 2005. So over the course of the Shannon scheme, the 4 years, there were 33 people died on the site. Safety was at a very low level. There was no such thing as protective clothing or hard hats or gloves or any of that type of equipment. A lot of people got injured, and you also had a workforce of a lot of people that hadn't experienced that type of a work environment before.
My role in the day-to-day running of Ardnacrusha would entail doing safety checks on the plant area, work areas, anywhere there's work going on. I'd be doing maybe a DuPont audit that we do here, as well as maybe plan some training for forthcoming events, and a general maybe meeting with the supervisors and management. Safety inspections are carried out in a wide range of equipment here, including tools and plant, lifting equipment. In relation to life jackets would have a quarterly test every 3 months where they'd be inspected. Lifting equipment is every 6 months statutory inspection by the insurance inspector who would come on site. If we happen to have any emergency faults in either Parteen Weir or Ardnacrusha station, we have a procedure, an emergency procedure which is in place by the civil department here. And they need the assistance of the Gardaí and the emergency response units.
I'm Joe Fitzgerald. I've worked in the ESB since 1973. Ardnacrusha has an environmental management system for about the last four years now. It's ISO 14001. A decision was taken at management level that all ESB power stations would have an internationally accepted environmental management system. The main positives, I suppose, would be there was a substantial amount of energy got, which would be very green energy in the sense that it's purely water. We don't have any emissions. There's no smoke, no toxic emissions. It also controls water levels on the lakes, and definitely controls floods. We can alleviate floods for a period of time by keeping low levels in the lakes during the winter time. Ardnacrusha has benefited from the development of water sports. In recent years we've had kayaking events and canoe events, kayak events down the Curraghour Falls. And the main benefit there is that we can give them exactly the amount of water they want, so that they have perfect conditions all the time. And they've held national championships and so on, and they've said it's some of the best water they've had.
The Shannon scheme and the building of Ardnacrusha gave a huge amount of employment. My grandfather worked on the construction of the canal, and my father also worked on the construction of the Parteen Weir, and I worked in Ardnacrusha. And a lot of families in the area have been working there down through the years. At the maximum employment in the station and the associated works in Killaloe was 120 at its peak, but of course it has reduced a lot since refurbishment has taken place and with the introduction of computers. At one stage you had 9 people working on shift, and now it's down to 1 person. Recently, Ardnacrusha received 2 world-famous awards, the Electric Engineering Award and the Landmark Award. Places like the Empire State Building, the Golden Gate Bridge and the Eiffel Tower would also have received those awards.
Ardnacrusha was very important for the people of Ireland, like in those times, even more so than it is today, like, because they had, what we had before that now were gas lamps and candles, you know, and the eye lamps, paraffin eye lamps, like, that's what we had.
Also made a big difference for an electric iron, especially, that you wouldn't be heating an iron in the fire and blackening everything with iron with for ironing a white shirt.
The washing machines and the dishwashers, I'd say, were the 2 most labour-saving devices that were ever invented. I think they're absolutely marvellous, because when I got married first, it was a tub and a washing board and a ½ pound of Sunlight soap. I had to do all the washing. Rub-a-dub-dub, 2 men in a tub. That's right. That's right.
The Shannon scheme is a beacon of inspiration as a renewable energy resource for Ireland. Its operation over the decades has assisted not just the local community, but the entire country. The future is optimistic, and the Shannon scheme will remain a crucial supplier of electricity to Ireland for years to come.
I think the future holds well for Ardnacrusha in the sense that it is a green energy, and we're now talking about sustainable development and sustainable energy and energy from natural resources. We're perfectly positioned to go on into the future as we've done in the past.
My view of Ardnacrusha in the future is that it'll still be here. It's going to put a lot of us under the ground, I'd say, and it'll always be a hydroelectric station here. Whether it'll be operated, manned-operated or remote control is another thing.
When the Shannon scheme ended, really, it was an anticlimax for O'Brien's Bridge and all the areas that were involved in it, because all the machinery left, all the men left, the Germans went away, the German women collected their bits and pieces and went home. And it was all very, I suppose, a big anticlimax, really. But then people just had to get on with their lifestyles and they had to keep going. And today, I think it is one of the best things that we could have got in this country. From an employment point of view, from a facility point of view, and from the point of view of the whole country, the advancement of the country itself. Otherwise, we'd have been left behind.
'Twill light our houses, 'twill stitch our blouses, 'twill milk our cows and 'twill churn the cream. 'Twill plough and sow, sir, 'twill reap and mow, sir, 'twill raise our dough, sir, the Shannon scheme. Then fill your glasses, my lads and lasses, all creeds and classes of the Irish name, and toast the statesmen, those wise and great men who boldly tackled the Shannon scheme.